The question arises if we need to install these modules or libraries separately, if they don't come with Python, how do we install them? Well, the answer is with something called pip. This is a very common standard way of installing these packages, modules, libraries. They have different names. They mostly mean the same thing, or at least that's how I'm meaning that to be interpreted as I share this with you. Is just these third-party compilations of Python code that can do specific things. So PyPy, we'll talk about that for a second, and then we'll talk about pip. But PyPy is the Python package index, which is a repository of these modules written in Python. And that's where most of these third-party sources of code can be found. Developers, including yourself, can upload these packages to PyPy and make them accessible to other people. So let's take a look at PyPy. This is pypy.org. And if we just browse projects here, we could look based on topic. Look how many topics there are. We've got everything from databases to games and entertainment to internet, home automation, HTTP servers, graphics, video, accounting, artificial intelligence. I could go on. So many contributors. I mean, over 500,000. There's so many packages here. We'll talk about several of the more common ones. And again, I'll continue adding to these. But if we browse, well, actually, if we search for one, let's search for a common one. Requests. HTTP for humans. So if I click on that, each package generally will have some instructions, as we see here, maybe a little bit of usage documentation and best practices. This points us to another website for documentation. But essentially, up here, we see requests and the version and how to install it using pip is pip install requests. So if we go back here, we learn a little bit about pip now. And pip is Python's package installer, which is frequently used to install these packages from PyPy. If we run pip install requests, as I just mentioned, in our terminal window or command prompts, or in our terminal in our IDE, like VS Code or PyCharm, it will download and install that requests library from PyPy, from that Python package index. So pip install and then the package name. One gotcha, I've run into this a lot, is if it fails, just make sure you give sudo or administrative permission. If you're on a Mac or Linux, you may have to give sudo permission. On a Windows, you may have to give administrative permission. If we want to upgrade pip itself, we can do pip install -- upgrade pip, and that just makes sure it's the most fresh pip version. It doesn't mean that there will be more packages to choose from, but it just makes sure pip can handle downloading those packages in the best way. And pip comes installed with Python downloaded from python.org. One other tidbit that I wanted to mention here was if you're using PyCharm, one of the things I like about it is if you import something at the top of PyCharm and you have not installed it with pip, if you've imported a third-party package, you can right-click on that, and then there's a little drop-down that says install with pip, and that's really convenient. PyCharm is definitely the most user-friendly IDE, in my opinion, especially for Python, especially for beginners. The reason I'm focusing on VS Code, as I've said in this latter part of the course, is because I think it's a little more versatile. So let's take a look at what this might look like in VS Code. So here we've got some things we've been using. With math, we can just delete all that and let's import. Let's go find a project. All right, let's look for one called Seaborn for data visualization. Pip install Seaborn. This is what we'll use. So if we try to import Seaborn, we see we get an error. We don't know, Python doesn't know what that is. So let's try doing pip install Seaborn. Now we see that it's downloading Seaborn, and we should see this error, these squigglies go away once Python recognizes it. And while that's working, if you try pip install and then a package, and it's giving you an error, again, remember you might need to try sudo pip install if you're on a Mac or Linux. Additionally, you might find that if you type pip, hit tab and see if you instead need to be using pip3, and then it would be pip3 install in your package, just depending on the version that you're using. Also, Google will be a great resource if you run into errors downloading packages. So we see now that Seaborn is quite the package. It's downloading Seaborn, it's downloading matplotlib, it's downloading NumPy. These are all dependencies, and that's often the case when we have third-party modules that we're trying to use, because they rely on other modules, and so they're very interdependent a lot of the time. So that's why we're seeing this one take a little bit. Okay, we see that just finished and our squiggly lines went away. So we could now use Seaborn functions and that library. So that's an overview of pip and how we can install, and I'll walk you through as we install each library that we're talking about in the next few lectures.